Alright, welcome back to another live stream. Now, I'm going to try doing this with you guys on the live stream, which is to effectively rebuild a hamlet. Now, one of the provinces, a group of 4 companies, managed to negotiate a progressive internment of the skeletal remains of this hamlet. Now, in order to do this with the corporation of the Lich that has basically taken up residence here, who is, will basically kick their ass if they don't do what he's asking them to do. They have negotiated to have to progressively intern the skeletal remains while progressively taking over the hamlet, while progressively rebuilding the crypt of the hamlet so that there's the ability for them to put the remains directly into the crypt. So I'm going to give this a go. I'll try to explain it a little bit better than what I've just done. I'll just go through it now. So the first thing is that this particular province that I'm talking about is Targoveste. Now, I'll just zoom in a little bit more. And I think I described before how as the Fog of War is revealing territory, it will be revealed on this map as well. Now, I'm just going to cut over to the province map, and I'll zoom back out. And this is where I'm looking at here, which is that one of the companies basically progressed up here and found some refugees who had been caught by the skeletal, by the undead of this particular hamlet. Now, place names. Yes, so this is where the hamlet is. Now I'm just going to go to the place name, and I'm going to cut that and paste it and move it slightly off side there. Okay, so what they did was they progressed overland, they crossed the river, and then they came up to this location. This is where they found the refugees. Now the refugees were being dragged back to the hamlet. They managed to free them from there, and then they made it back to the town. Now, finding out about the disasters that befell other provinces, they decided to take things a little bit easier. Now, at the time, they didn't understand that this was a river. What they did was they took some longboats overland to here, and then they took the longboats and they revealed this territory. Now, this is a lake that's fed from maybe from mountains, maybe from whatever water, how the water is getting to this little lake. It is part of the moat of this hamlet. And then there's a river that they've managed to follow that goes down to where they cross the river and then continues down, and they reveal the territory, and it goes all the way over to the consecrated track, the Holobov Mosserati track. There's a bridge crossing here. Now this is a pedestrian bridge only, so as has happened in other provinces, they would have to demolish this and rebuild it so that it can take longboats. It can take longships. It can take longboats because it's just it's not that. It's just a matter of you can't take a larger vessel down here. So anyway, they've managed to find that water course through there. So they've then decided they're going to assault this location. They've negotiated with the Lich to basically allow them to attack and intern the skeletal remains as they progress. Now, I'm just going to jump out of that and jump over to the Excel document. So what I've got here is the Excel document. We've got a rebuilt map here with all of the random numbers and stuff like that for all the hit points and all of the notes and everything like that. So this is what it looks like in a rebuilt fashion. Now, in the ruined version, as you can see, everything's ruined. So what I've decided is that in terms of labour, if you've got a company of adventurers who are willing to do the work, then it is possible to rebuild some of these places simply by demolishing the ruins of existing buildings and then using the materials from those to rebuild something. So I've come up with a bit of a calculation. So I've written here, salvaging materials from above ground ruined dwellings of a hamlet. Now this is of the Tribo one, but of a hamlet, of a town, village, hamlet, or farm. Other buildings can be. Alright, so what I'm trying to do is basically put a ruling together on how to progress. So above ground, you've got the ruins of 10 foot by 10 foot, the ruins of 20 foot by 20 foot buildings. Now, those ruins, the materials from those ruins can be used to rebuild something. So the process that I'm wanting to do is effectively there's two rulings. There's materials, and I'm going to just take that and I will create another ruling. So I'm just going to make that one ruling. That's on materials, and then this is the ruling on time. So each company can demolish a 10 foot by 10 foot ruin in a day. And I'm also going to make it so that so that's in terms of getting materials. Then I'm wanting to make it so that each company can rebuild area. Alright, so what I'm trying to do is make it so that this is a progression that that allows these places to be rebuilt in a way that doesn't end up costing an arm and a leg, so they can reuse materials rather than having to buy materials from elsewhere. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is move those comments out of the way. Okay. All right. So just as an idea, so we've got another complication, which is that the way that I'm wanting to interpret the Vellini peace accords is that a group of 20, the groups of 20 are the maximum size groups that are allowed under the Vellini peace accords. That the locals basically didn't want large numbers of mercenaries or standing armies, or what was going on during the Vellini Civil War. They don't want any of that. So that limits the size of any combative force that are sworn to the same objectives and such, to the number 20. Now, I'm trying to work out a way that 4 individual companies can assault this hamlet and work at the same time. Now, we've got combatant and we've got non-combatant things. So if they're fighting, then they can't assist each other in melee combat. So that's the first thing that I was thinking about doing to ensure that there'd be an element of differentiation between the different companies. So my intention is to have one company going and hitting this gatehouse, and then fighting downwards from the gatehouse into the subterranean levels. I want another group to assault straight down the middle and assault the central keep, and then one going to the left flank and one going to the right flank. Now, fighting the retrieving the skeletal remains. That means that the skeletal remains will be temporarily interned in somewhere. Okay, so there's going to be the requirement to do more than just one thing, and it may be that if someone's doing some rebuilding, then that rebuilding isn't combative, so you could actually have more than one group working on that. So, going to give it a go. So, the ones I've done previously, I didn't do them real time. I just effectively worked out how much work they can do in a day, and then took it from there. Now, this one is a bit more difficult because there's undead present, so they're going to assault at the same time. So trying to work out a way to achieve that is a little bit more complicated than I thought. And whether or not I can do this as a live stream. Anyway, we're going to stumble through it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore the undead, just for the purposes of this demonstration. So, hypothetically, they've gone straight down. One group is focusing on this area here, and the others are focusing on this. Now, what I need to do is I need to salvage materials to start with. So, the first thing is rebuilding the upper level here is not achievable. So what we can do is, you can't go from the top down. You have to go from the bottom up. So I'm just going to go and show the subterranean level, and then subterranean 2, and that's subterranean 3, which isn't part of it. So what they're going to do is they're going to fight their way down, and they're going to rebuild. So the first thing is, on the ground floor, this area here, they're going to remove all that rubble. All right, so that rubble will be removed by me just simply copying and then pasting over the top. We can do it another way, which is to undo that, and then I'm going to click over to the rebuilt map, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, I think. Okay, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to then copy it I'm going to go to the Ruin version. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to paste, and then I'm going to paste values. I'm going to paste it, then I'm going to copy it again. Okay, so copy again, and then I'm going to paste values, and then I'm going to hit Control V, and what that does is the first one of pasting values basically sets the hit points for it, and the second thing it does is it will put the comments back in. So anyway, so look, just moving forward, I've just done that, but we're not going to do anything on the ground floor. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to only have these steps going down. So we'll leave them in place, and the rest of it is going to be pasted over. Okay. All right. So what I'm trying to achieve here is that they've used the materials from the ground floor to rebuild something. Okay, so what they've decided to rebuild is sub 3. So they're rebuilding sub 3. Now I can also make it so that they've taken the walls and what's remaining of the roof and all that sort of thing away there. Now, in order to stabilize this, I think that it'd be realistic that they have to shore it up and rebuild both of these at the same time. So they've, as I said, harvested that one there of materials. So now I did a calculation. I think that I made it so that it was all right, that they can. All right, there we go. Okay, so one 10 foot by 10 foot can be used to repair up to 4. So we've just taken a 20 by 20, and that should be sufficient to rebuild up to 4. So sorry. All right. So I'll grab. We've taken that out, and so we can do that. Copy that from the rebuilt one, and then paste there. And as I said, copy, paste values, and then that. So we've now got it effectively fixed in stone. So no pun intended. All right, so there's that one, and then we've got sub 3. So I'm going to copy sub 3, and then I'm going to paste sub 3. So copy, paste values. Okay, and then do that. And the other thing I noticed is that the doorways, they are grouped and then they ungroup them. Oh, sorry, they're not. Yeah, they're grouped or merged. So when I copy and paste values, it loses the merge. So just going to go back and ensure that that's the case. All right. So now what we've got at the gatehouse is a trap. Sorry, missed a step. So in the rebuilding process, so we need to secure this. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to here. Okay, going back to here, and they're going to put drawbridges back. All right, so might not seem like much, but they need to be able to get in and out of the ruins. So the first thing they do is they put drawbridges back in place. The second thing they do is they're going to put portcullises and doors back in. So again, paste, copy, paste values. Alright, so that's now assigned a value to it. Okay, so that's basically replaced the gate there. I'll go back to here and I'll do the same thing again. So copy that. And then paste that. Copy, paste values. Group. Alright, and finally so in terms of like, yes, there's breaches in the walls and such, but they're not going to be showing them up. Just to start with, first priority, as I'm trying to do, is just to make it so it's relatively secure. Now a bit of, putting the portcullises in and placing doors and things like that is just a small part of what needs to be done. So anyway, now we've got sub 1 and we've got sub 2. Now let's just say that there's as I said, they've taken the top floor, so that means that they've got effectively so they've taken 4 and they can do 16 with the materials they've got. Now they've used up 8 on this, and now they're going to rebuild these corridors. So that means that they should be able to do what's that? Okay, 10, 20, 30. So that's 30 foot. Okay, they should be able to get around the corner there. Let's just do it to there. All right, so so I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go to here, paste that, I'm going to copy it, and then paste values again. All right, so they've rebuilt the sub 1, then sub 2, yeah, sub 1, sub 2, and they've got this corridor rebuilt to this point. So their objective is to rebuild this crypt. So to get there, they've got to go, that's 20. Anyway, we'll work it out. All right, so back to the back to here. On the ruin one. Right, start to harvest more materials. So, all right, so these 3 here, for example, or actually these 4. Let's just keep it in the same, using the same method. So that's a 20 by 60. So we're going to grab a 20 by 60. I'll copy that and I'll paste that. Okay, so I've now copied and pasted over the top of that. So that now gives me another 80 worth of materials. So I'm just going to do something else, which is view, new window, and I'm going to move this to here, and then I'm going to grab the rebuilt map over here so that I can not have to flit around the screens. Okay, so we've got 80 to work with. So okay, so first things first, that is, let's just call that 20. So okay, so that's 20. Let's just say that getting around the corner here, what's going on here? Now we've got for some reason yeah, right. So for some reason we've got an older version of the mapping here. Now I will go back and do the master document as well. I mean, no, I'll do it right now. Now, right, we are in a hamlet. We are in a Hamlet 4, I believe. Don't update. And yes, it's a Hamlet 4. So I need to check it out. Yep, that's correct there. And on the ruin, it still shows the old one. So I should be able to paste over the top of that. And then exit out. So just so you know, I've got a rebuilt ruin version of all the hamlets, towns, villages, and farms. And so what I just did then was to ensure that the next time I do it, the next time I grab that version, as in the rebuilt ruin version, it is going to have that same change in it. So as I'm finding errors, I'm trying to fix them as I go on. Anyway, Alright, so we just used up 2. We're going to use up another lot. Another 2. So I reckon that there is what I'm going to use. So that's another 2. So I'll copy that from there. Okay, that's 4. Okay, and I'm going to go and do that there. So that's a 39. Yeah, so that's 2, 4, and then 8. So I'll copy that. And then, okay, we've got that section rebuilt. Now, there's only one modification, one variation, I should say. Shit. I've just not done it properly. So I'll do that. Okay, so what I haven't done is I have not pasted values only. So I'm going to have to go back and do that now. So that's values, that's values, that's values, that's not values. Alright, so that's not values either. Alright, so we'll take that whole section there and I'll copy that. I'll paste values only, and then okay, so that's that. Again with the doorway, I'm going to do that. Okay. Now, what I was going to say before about slight variations is that I'm putting a doorway here. Now, there isn't normally a doorway on the crypt on sub 1. Sorry, sub 2. So what I need to do is just make it so we can rebuild it. So, we've got to get in there somehow to start rebuilding, shoring it up, and such. So this is the method I've chosen to do to enable that to happen. All right, so back to grabbing another 4. Okay, so we need to grab another 4. So I'm just going to check something. Yeah, that was 3. Yep, that was 4. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these 4 here. So that one there, 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 and there. So start with, I'm going to paste them out with the normal ruin. Okay, that's got us our 4. Okay, so that's got us our 4. Now what I'm going to do is shoot along to here and then look at what we can do. So yeah, let's rebuild sub 3 to start with. So they've made a breach into the crypt here, but they can't rebuild sub 2 until they've rebuilt sub 3. Right, so sub 2, sub 3, and I'm pasting and I'm copying. Pasting values. So in effect, they've also rebuilt the crypt, the vault as well. All right, so all right, so that's another 4 down, and so now we need to grab another 4 from somewhere. All right, and I'm going to grab these 4 here. So that's 20 by 80. 20 by 80. Okay, so that's that. Alright, so we've just taken out some more ruin. And now I'm going to go to... Okay, so we just rebuilt sub 3. Now I'm going to rebuild sub 2. Keeping in mind that I've got the doorway there, so... Copy. Paste. Copy. Paste values. Now, let's just accept they're going to take that door out. All right, now, when they're going to take that door out, I don't know whether they will or not. Look, the main thing is that we've got access through here. So, paste values. Okay, so that was another 4, and now they've done sub 2, and then another 4 again. What I'm going to do is 120, 120. Okay, so copy that. All right, let's go us another 20. Now, I just realized that when I copied this, it looks like I've left all of the calculations in place. So the whole thing I had in mind about before, I can really just do it in one go. So I'll demonstrate that in a little while. First things first, we've just done sub 1. So we've got sub 3, sub 2, sub 1. Now we need to do ground floor. All right, now these buildings are tall. They're multiple stories above ground. I mean, the central keep is most likely going to be 40. Now, I haven't put that in place yet on these maps. I'm contemplating it, but the thing is that I mean, look, there's only so much you can do. They're definitely not single story, and at what point these come into being used in a LRP sense, as in if someone's ever going to occupy these rooms, if they're going to do any personalization of these rooms, all that can come into place later on. But in the meantime, let's just focus on getting this done. So we need to get another. We need to get another 4 from somewhere. Now, non-fortification ones. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, that are non-fortification ones. So we can do that. So that's 1, 2, 3. Oops. Right. So that's 4. So now we can go back to here, and we can rebuild that. Oops. Yeah, that's all right. All right, so we just rebuilt that part there. So that's ground floor of the central keep. Now, yeah, so it's made it fairly Spartan inside, but in terms of rebuilding, it doesn't have to be rebuilt in stone. It can be rebuilt in wood. The internal layout of these places can be modified to suit. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that on the ruin, we've still got the while the above ground has been taken out, there's still the sub 1, the cellars of the ones we've taken. So it may be that if there is another dwelling built over the top, it'll have multiple cellars. So just to keep that in mind. Anyway, yeah, so in terms of how long that took, it would have taken quite a long time. So we can, we can explore all that later. But anyway, one of the last things I wanted to do was I wanted to show the whole. So selecting all, so copying, and then pasting values only, and then Alt V or Control V to fix the hit points of what's in the cell, and also to return the comments field. Now, as you can see, it's stripped out a lot of the good stuff. So things like the merged cell. So 37, for example, was removed, as in the formatting was removed. So it's still there in 38, and I could simply do that for each one to return it back the way it was. So Anyway, so the hit points are all now fixed in stone and done. And one final thing before I leave this live stream will be that we don't need the rebuilt map anymore, so we can simply delete that. So there we go. So now it's left us with the ruin, the rebuilt one, the one we're rebuilding at present. So anyway, so that's how to put a Hamlet back to rights. So I'll do a breakdown of time management of that, and I'll be putting that over on the right hand side here. You can see that we've got Olive Duck and Company, Amber Imp, we've got Poison Fox, and we've also got Crimson Cougar, and those are the four that will be rebuilding this. So I'll try and work out the time management on it, just for record keeping. It might just be simpler just to write a instead of using the individual company file as we've got here. It may just be simpler to go up to the headlines, but really I don't think it's worthy of a headline. All the management of the rebuilding process isn't necessary to go into so much detail. It could just be summed up in day one did this, day two did this, and it doesn't need to break it down as to which company did what particular aspect of the rebuilding process. Anyway, that was a long one, but hopefully you got to see how I'm intending to make some of these redesigns, rebuilds occur. So anyway, thanks for joining us. If you've got any more information that you want to find out, you can have a look at renegadelarp.com, or send me a PM or